I've got 5 p.m., so I'm going to call this meeting to order. Will everyone stand for the pledge, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So be it. Bear with me a minute while I take a row, making sure we've got everyone here we need. Of course, we need everyone, but Trustee Pierce. Present. Trustee Kane.
Present.
Trustee Sullivan. Present. Trustee Wilson.
Here.
And Trustee Stoma, I'm here somewhere. So we have a quorum, so let's move forward. I need a motion. Has the notice of this meeting been posted?
It has, sir. I certify that it has been posted in accordance with the law.
Any public comment?
Chair Stoma, there's no public comment.
Thank you. Any introductions, guests, recognitions?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, I need a motion for approval of the amendment of the minutes of the October 5th, 2023 regular meeting. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second?
Second.
Sullivan seconds.
Oh.
All those approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Special reports, announcements, Chancellor.
Sure. So I have a few, just previous events. I, along with a couple of members of the staff and trustees, visited 2023 ACCT's Leadership Congress from October 9th to October 12th. And I'll defer to the trustees to speak about their experience at the appropriate time. I just wanted to sort of highlight that and remind you that we did that. And then also we had Dr. Reedhart's welcome reception a couple of days ago, actually, from 2 to 4, and that was really nice over at Montgomery. So welcome again, Dr. Reedhart. One of the things that I really enjoy about those is you always learn something super cool about one of your colleagues that you didn't know before. And Dr. Reedhart has a lot more street cred than I gave her credit for. So I was very impressed by that. Also learned about Big Mama from Dr. Lambert. And so Dr. Freire, you better have a good story, man, because you are up on November 7th. On November 7th at University Park in West Dining, we're going to officially welcome Dr. Freire from 2 to 4. Once again, West Dining, University Park. Also, we have the Foundation Drive for Scholarships Golf Tournament, folks, on November 13th from 9 to 6:30 at the Woodlands Country Club. Now, I don't play golf, but I have asked if I can drive a cart, and they have allowed me. So I will be there all day volunteering. If you haven't volunteered, you can come volunteer with me. I'm not a big golf player, but I am a huge supporter of the foundation of our students. So I will be there throughout the day. I encourage everyone to join us if you can. Then lastly, we have a brand new building opening up at University Park, our Visual Performing Arts Center. So the ribbon cutting for that is December 6th. From 4 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Want to make sure, don't want anyone showing up at 4 a.m. 4 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. on December 6th. And so look forward to ribbon cutting. That's been a long time coming. I know people at UP are very excited about it. And that's it, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I think we have a President's report, Dr. Wright.
Great. Good evening. Today, I'm going to give you a presentation called Resilient College. It's a macro analysis of how COVID-19 impacted Lone Star College. The intended result is to lead you to 3 conclusions: that LSC's enrollment was impacted by the socioeconomic status of students and prospects, that our students' performance actually improved despite the COVID-19 disruption, and that our expanded student supports during that time possibly impacted student success. So with that said, I want to start off by talking about enrollment. So the Texas Tribune noted that Texas community colleges lost 11% of enrollment during COVID. At Lone Star, we lost about 7%. And to break that down a little bit further, if you look at this graph, the blue line represents new students, the red continuing, and the gray returning students, students that were out for a year. And I can tell you the biggest loss that we had was from 19 to 20. We had 3,100 fewer new students during that time period, with the most significant subcategory being a 9% loss with students. Now, whenever you lose new students, it's important to look at the application process. So we pulled that and noticed that we had about 20% fewer applicants from Black applicants and about 18% fewer from white male applicants, something that's happening really across the country. With the Black students in particular, we got to watch that because really only 1 out of every 2 Black students that apply ever make it through the admissions process to be able to become a student. So there's something that we're going to watch closely. Now, moving forward to show you the socioeconomic status, this is a zip code map. And so those areas in pink shows you areas in which we lost enrollment from fall 19 to fall 20. Those in green show you areas in which we gained enrollment. And so looking at a little bit over 40 zip codes, what we found was that any zip code that had $45,000 as a median household income or lower actually lost students. In fact, the only areas in which we gained students were those areas with a minimum of $60,000 or more. And many of our growth was in our $100,000 zip codes. So you got to ask you, how does this impact our ISD partners? So randomly selecting 6 ISDs, what we found was the higher the economically disadvantaged of the ISD, these were ISDs that were more likely to lose students. So you look at a Tomball with 28%, gain 18% of students, where if you look at an Aldine, which 90% of the students are economically disadvantaged, they lost 8%. And looking at the Texas Tribune data, this was not unique to us, it was all the way across Texas. So I only put this slide up there just to reiterate that our students here at Lone Star have basic needs challenges. So I won't spend too much time on that. But now that we looked at enrollment, let's look at performance. One of the things we found with performance is that we actually have more graduates now than we had before COVID. The only time we had a drop was in academic year 21-22. And that was mainly because we had about 600 fewer Certificate 1 graduates. Now, Certificate 1s are those programs that you could get in one semester, and they're generally entirely new students. So the fact that we have fewer new students explains the drop that we had that semester. If you look at course success rates, those are A, Bs, or Cs in courses. We actually have a higher success rate now than we had before COVID. And the highlights being that our Hispanic female students no longer have a gap with our LSE average. Our Hispanic male only have a slight gap. And our Black female student actually gained the most during this time period with 7 percentage points. And so we're actually doing better in terms of what our students are doing in the classroom. And then looking at expanded support, we're now provide more supports for students. So let's just look at financial aid. We are now awarding more students despite lower enrollment than what we were awarding before COVID. And the thing is, since the House bill passed in which high school students have to complete the FAFSA before graduation, now over half of our incoming students are on some form of financial aid. And if you look at Black students, that's up to almost 3/4 of that particular population. This slide here, I only point out just to show that when we help students, they often do better. Tech Connect is our program in which we're able to give laptops or computers to students or loan them out. The blue graph shows students that received devices, the red shows students who did not. And you can see that our students persisted more whenever they got the help. So in other words, when we help students, they often do better. And so this is just a slide to show kind of our food pantries at all of our locations. They all expanded during COVID. And while I don't have a lot of data, this is what I will tell you just from Houston North alone. Over 26% of our graduates attended a food pantry on average 18 times. And I can't help but wonder what would have happened to those students if we did not have these services. So just to kind of wrap up here, the point of this is to show you pre-COVID to post-COVID. And what we know is that in terms of enrollment, we're still lower, but we're gaining ground. In terms of course success, we're higher than we ever been. In terms of graduation numbers, we're higher than ever been. And we have services that we did not have before. So despite the fact that I do not want to make light of COVID because it was a tragic situation, in many ways, we're a stronger college now than what we were before. And that's the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. Could you go back to the previous slide? I know this is representative of all the colleges, but I'll ask each one of you as I'm asking him, are you getting plenty of supplies? Are you getting good supplies here? Do you need more? What do you need?
So I will tell you, that's probably a challenge that we have to work through. Our students are using our pantries at levels that they haven't used them before. So it is a little bit harder to keep up because they're entirely by donations, right? And so because of that, we're having to think of new strategies to keep them stocked.
So what would be the number one thing that could be done that say you could do if you could do it to make the most difference here?
We need a partner that's going to supply them. And in essence, we need to just find a way to make sure that we keep and not just food items, but toiletries, household items, because those items are being used, like I said, at levels that we haven't seen.
Okay. Great. Any other questions for? Right, go
I have
ahead.
a couple.
Trustee Sullivan.
First of all, great information. Thank you. I was intrigued with, there's a little bit of an echo. It's kind of loud. I don't know if it's just me, but feel like I feel it like a bass in my chest. I was caught by when you said 1 out of 2 Blacks don't make it through the application process.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So meaning that out of every student that applies, half would not make it to the point of enrolling in class. So in other words, during the admissions process and the general steps. And so I'm looking into it more, but I think it's financial. And the reason why I think it's financial, like on this slide here, you can see 3/4 of Black students are coming in on some form of financial aid. So I think that that's probably the issue, but I am looking into it more to see why that's the case.
How do you drill down? What are you going to look for? I mean, I know you're I'm trying to find the cause. I want everybody that applies to be accepted and everybody to come to
Sure.
class.
So what I will tell you is that there's a lot of steps in the admissions process. And so that's one of the things that we're looking at step by step. So what we got to see is where we lose the students, right? Is it during the orientation process? Is it the bacteria meningitis shot? Whatever the case may be. And so we can look and see where we lost the students. And that's the part we got to drill down into.
Okay, I got it. So the process is from here to here,
It
and
is.
everybody meets this step, but then you lose some, and then you lose some more, and then you lose 50%.
That's it. That's
And
it.
you'll
That's
measure
it.
these,
Mhm.
and then we'll work on fixing that. Do you think that's system wide?
I would say that it is. It's something that we all talk about a lot of times, the admissions process. A lot of it's not on us. Over the years, the state has added more and more steps to the admissions process that, they didn't have before. It used to be students can come in one day and enroll. Now it will take students a solid week to get through the enrollment process in many cases. And so the longer it takes, Trustee Sullivan, the more likelihood you're going to lose students.
Okay, Chancellor, as he identifies, whoever identifies the problems, I'm assuming that'll become a priority, and then all the college campuses will benefit from the improvements?
Yes, sir. We're trying to come up with SLAs essentially from one step to the other. Because there's some, for example, like Dr. Wright mentioned, that are compliance driven. So even if we wanted to make them shorter, we can't. The same thing is true with financial aid, for example, right? There's some process where for compliance reasons, regulatory reasons, we can't shrink that space, but there are areas where we could. And so that's sort of the areas that we're going to target here in the spring pretty hard.
Okay, good, thank you. And then the slide that showed 76,000 students, if I'm not mistaken, that was the number. A few years ago, if I remember correct, it seemed like in Lone Star's boilerplate language at the bottom of their press releases, they always advertised 90, 91, 95,000. Does that ring a bell?
So I can explain a little bit of that. So
Okay.
there's 2 ways to look at, but 3 things that we got to look at there. Sometimes we look at duplicated data, and then there's other times in which we also look at continuing ed. Now, what you see here is just credit enrollment. That's not counting all the continuing ed students. So usually when you see those numbers, the continuing ed students are added into it.
Okay. Would there be any interest to standardize the numbering for press releases and presentations.
Yes, sir, we can do that.
Just a thought, because
Yes, sir.
I'm going around telling people when I was campaigning 5 years ago, we got 100,000 students. Well, we don't. So it's just a thought.
Yes, sir.
It's not a directive, it's just a thought.
Trustee Pierce, you had a question
Dr.
or
Wright,
comment?
great presentation. And I'm going to go back to say, do you think that, I've always been a proponent of adding more manpower, especially south of 1960. We're losing a lot of students simply because they're not being, to me, recruited properly. And I recommend that maybe if we get some manpower where you get a person in each feeder pattern. For example, Ike has a feeder pattern, Nimitz has a feeder pattern, Davis, Aldine, who am I missing? Whatever, MacArthur. All of these schools have a feeder pattern. And with our, I was looking at the disadvantaged population. What was it in Aldine? Is it about 90%, 89%?
90%.
Okay, you know, when you get to disadvantaged students, and I've had a chance to work with them, you have to put in more time, more manpower, and that's building relationships with students. So I'm big on that. And so we can get manpower, for example. I know this is gonna have to be a budgetary issue, but I don't care if it's a budgetary issue. We're losing 10 to 15,000 students every year from the Aldine area, simply because they don't, like I say, the registration, getting totally registered is one problem, but in other words, they don't know about Lone Star. They don't even know what a Lone Star is. You know, you have to, and that has to start from middle school, maybe elementary school on up. And someone said about educating parents, well, the way you have to educate our parents is through their students, through the students. So we could get, you know, manpower into those middle schools and they start talking up Lone Star and say, you know, this is not about a 4-year degree. We have certifications, we have short-term certifications, whatever. Then those students grow with that. But we are losing, and you know, you have no idea how many students we are losing because we are not touching them. And the only way you can touch them is through manpower. And as we grow that, then we'll grow our enrollment, because that we're really losing a lot of students. They don't, you know, they don't even think about us. And that's a bunch every year they're graduating and they're not coming here. And really, according to national research and statistics, 70% of Americans are going to a 2-year college. They're not going to go to a 4-year college. So that's why we're here. And I have been beating my head against the wall, Trustee Wilson and I, and we have said that we have to put manpower in those schools. Because when I go to those schools and talk to students, they're, oh, you got that? You got pipe fitting, you got this? I say, yes, we do. Well, what is Lone Star? You know, they don't even know about us. I'm just saying, to pull that enrollment up, especially when you have a lot of disadvantaged students, we're going to have to play up our workforce. Workforce is going to be critical for Lone Star. It really is. That workforce program, you know, well, you know, that's what we have to focus on. But anyway, I know that's a good way to get to students because I've worked the high schools. I know what it takes. But anyway, you had a great presentation, but my tidbits were just that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. Okay. American Federation of Teachers, John.
Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. John Bergduff, President of the American Federation of Teachers here at Lone Star College. I want to start tonight by giving you a quick update on our union's all-employee survey that I announced at the last board meeting. The survey officially closed at the end of October, and as of yesterday, we have received responses from 1,189 faculty and staff. That total may still go a little higher with late submissions, and this number already exceeds the number of responses we got to the survey we conducted last year and is a new record for our union. It's going to take us a little while, it's actually going to take us quite a while to analyze the results, but we will report that information to Chancellor Castillo and all of you on the board when we have it ready. I want to take a moment to offer special thanks to Senior Associate Vice Chancellor Butch Julig, who's in the back, who oversees the Office of Technology Services here at Lone Star, and to his team. We were having some technical issues with email on our end that they helped us solve, and that enabled us to get the survey out to all employees. So we're very grateful. Since we don't have that information yet, I'd like to talk to you about another survey that should be of concern to all of us. This survey was conducted over the summer by the American Association of University Professors. The AAUP is a union that focuses on higher education and does the same work that we do in the American Federation of Teachers. Here in Texas, AFT has focused its efforts on K through 12 school districts and community colleges, while AAUP has focused on four-year colleges and universities. The two unions, in fact, are currently entering into a formal alliance, and all AAUP locals are in the process of transitioning to AFT locals, while they will keep their AAUP branding as well. The AAUP survey was sent to college and university faculty members in 3 southern states, Florida, Georgia, and Texas, states where significant legislation has recently been passed that impacts higher education. We sent the survey to all faculty members in our local, and over the 3 states, over 4,000 faculty members responded. Here in Texas, the legislation that AAUP wanted to focus on included Senate Bill 17, which eliminated diversity, equity, and inclusion offices at public colleges and universities, and Senate Bill 18, which added some new parameters around tenure rights. Similar legislation has been enacted in Georgia, and Florida has been especially aggressive in imposing new regulations and restrictions on colleges and universities. Alarmingly, based on these developments, 2/3 of respondents said they would not recommend their state as a desirable place to work to prospective new professors looking for an academic position in their state. 31% said that they were actively considering applying for positions outside of their state this year themselves. 20% said they have already done so. And about 1/3 state that they do not plan to stay in academia long-term. When professors who were considering or actively seeking to leave their states were asked for their reasons, 60% cited salary or the political climate in their state, 50% noted a loss of academic freedom, and more than 40% quoted issues related to tenure or DEI. In addition, respondents were asked about the impact they were seeing on recruiting new faculty. About 50% noted a decrease in the number of applicants for positions within their departments. About the same percent reported that they had encountered candidates reluctant to proceed with the interview process because of issues in their state. More than 45% claimed to see a decline in the quality of candidates, and more than 40% stated personal knowledge of candidates who refused job offers because of the higher education climate in their state. All of this is rather depressing. Results have not been disaggregated by institutions, so we don't know specifically how Lone Star College faculty responded to these questions. We expect that that will become somewhat clear in our own survey results. We should be aware that LSC may see a negative impact on recruitment of faculty when the college begins to ramp up the hiring process for next fall. And we might need to be ready for that. Internally, there are many things we all can do and are already doing to alleviate concerns among Lone Star faculty. You as a board passed very judicious amendments to college policy to affirm that federal and state non-discrimination laws will be rigorously enforced. The board, the chancellor, and other administrators at all levels have publicly and unequivocally affirmed that Lone Star will be a welcoming place for every employee and every student, regardless of who they are. The Office of Culture and Engagement, led by Dr. Carlicia Wright, continues to provide excellent programming to celebrate all of our students and employees and to make sure that they feel valued. For our part, the union published a thorough analysis of Senate Bill 17 in our most recent edition of our newsletter, The Advocate, which goes out to all employees. We emphasize that the bill explicitly states that nothing in the law restricts the content we teach in class, the speakers we bring to campus, the research and creative work that we and our students do, the activities of our student organizations, or the good work we do to promote student success. With solid information, we hope that we have alleviated some of the fear that faculty may be feeling. Tenure is not an issue at Lone Star, but we have good policies in place to protect the due process rights of our faculty, and we can work to make those policies even stronger. In conclusion, it's unfortunate that there are some that see higher education as a political punching bag, especially at a time when the economic future of Texas and other southern states is so heavily dependent on building a better educated workforce. The AFT statewide has and will continue to lobby our leaders in Austin to strengthen higher education rather than to hurt it. Here at home, as we are already doing, all of us working together can continue to assure our faculty and our staff that Lone Star is a college that champions their work and supports their academic freedom. Thank you very much for your time.
Sean. Just an aside, let the record show that Trustee Murillo entered the meeting at 5:18 p.m. Any reports from board members? Dr. Kane?
You want me to go? Thank you.
Okay.
John, I was gonna say, it's a very good report. I was in Vegas, and let me tell you, every meeting I went to, people say, Texas. They were down on us because of the legislature and the laws that would be passed, and you're absolutely right. We are nobody, they don't want to talk and they want to come to Texas. Now, the only other good redeeming part about that, they were so enamored by our young chancellor. And they were talking about how young he was. I said, he is a baby, but, but he's ready. But they were enamored about that. So that was a good thing. We got a lot of kudos about our young chancellor, but we also got, we got beaten down by the legislature. So you're right, we're gonna have to do something. But fortunately, we were tagged to do the DEI, and Carlisha Wright and our new chancellor were very, instrumental in helping us get ahead of the game. So maybe, to the staff, the faculty, maybe that will, be of some, we didn't violate any laws, but, we were progressive, we were proactive in that case. But thank you anyway for your report.
Trustee King?
Just to follow up on that national conference, it's always good to go to those breakout sessions and find out what other community colleges across the U.S. are doing, and listen to some of the things that they highlight with their success rates, and see if some of those things can be brought back here to Lone Star. Many of those things, of course, we're already doing, and was very proud of that. There was an article that Mr. Van Rysdam sent to us that really caught my eye. The opening line is, Lone Star College has been named a Fulbright Hispanic Serving Institution Leader for 2023. That's really absolutely remarkable. And I want to quote Anthony Blinken, our U.S. Secretary of State. His quote was, Lone Star College's designation as a 2023 Fulbright Hispanic Serving Institution Leader is a testament to the institution's dedication to promoting global engagement and mutual understanding among peoples and nations. That's pretty nice to get the Secretary of State to recognize Lone Star for the great work that we're doing. And of course, of that article, Dr. Caruso was mentioned. I know many other folks were part of making that happen. So I tip my cap to them. I too had an opportunity to go to Dr. Reedhart's reception the other day. It was very, very nice. Congratulations to you. Was on the University Park campus last week. The American Association of University Women hosted a forum for the candidates who are seeking board positions in the Cy-Fair ISD. And so it was great to be there at UP. My thanks to UP for making the facility available to AAUW for that meeting. And speaking of UP, Dr. Fry-Ray attended a large gathering last week in the Klein ISD, where employees and parents and business people were there, and she was introduced and said some words about her entry to University Park. So thank you so much, Dr. Fry-Ray, for those comments.
I have one more thing.
Trustee
Okay,
Curtis?
I wanted to thank Chancellor Castillo because, you know, we had mentioned trustee Wilson and I that we wanted to, I'm tired of meeting at Starbucks when I have to meet with a constituent. And I felt like as elected officials, we needed to have somewhere to meet at a campus that was in our district. And he obliged us. And believe it or not, I've gotten calls saying, hey, there's a sign up at this college saying trustees office. I mean, you don't know how happy I am. Because I was really tired of meeting at Starbucks and, you know, and buying people coffee, they buying me coffee. Thank you so much. I've been crying for this for the last 4 years. Thank you so much, Chancellor.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Any other comments?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I just also wanted to mention the conference we were able to attend recently. And I can get rid of this Anthony Blinken quote. You already said it, so no, that is something to be very proud of. Thank you for sharing that. But I think it gives an opportunity to attend sessions and particularly in this juncture in our history with a brand new chancellor, we have to make some critical decisions and we are working hard to ensure a successful transition with our chancellor. So going to this conference, of course, there's all these sessions about you got a new chancellor, you applies to you. And I know we went to some goal setting and I ran into you in one of them. So I think it had to do with the retreats. So yeah, it's very valuable. We get to discuss, we get to share our successes with other trustees from all over the country. We're very proud of what stories we have to say, and people are wondering who Mario was, and it says, he's here, he's around, and you got to get in line because everybody wants to talk to him. But no, it was exciting. One of the things that I just quickly, kind of also made notes of regarding some of those sessions, and I guess it was about the goal setting one, when it says that as trustees, we share a commitment to ensure that we continue to fulfill our mission as an institution. I mean, that's critical. Anybody who's been nonprofit organizations understands the significance or the value of being clear on what your purpose is and the missions. And as trustees, I think we share in that goal, right? That objective. It's important that we communicate that to our communities, right? To ensure that we have the public support. So we take that very seriously. The other, in terms of developing an open, constructive dialogue to frame recommendations and expectations for the next review session. And that was something that I particularly paid attention to and took a lot of notes because, we have a lot of things planned. Our board chair is making sure that we follow through on these activities. Then we'll have a board retreat and things like that we're going to talk about. But again, at this particular point, I think kind of raises that awareness within the board about carrying out our duties, not only fiduciary duties, but also our oversight and governance in terms of governance. So we're going to work very hard to define those goals and priorities so that not only we understand it, but the public understands, and more importantly, that our chancellor knows that we're right there behind him, supporting him throughout this process. I know he's going to do great. That's it.
Any other comments? All right, thank you, trustees. Any committee reports? Anyone have anything to report? I think we're pretty even on policies. All right, good. Then we'll turn to the consent agenda. Items 3 and 18 will be totally pulled from the agenda. They will not be considered tonight. We have a request to pull item 16 for discussion. Are there any other items should be pulled for discussion? And let the record show that trustee Vogt has entered in. You snuck in on me, Dave. But trustee Vogt is also present. Okay. Then may I have a motion to approve items 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, and 19. Have a motion, please? Second,
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The items pass. Thank you. Could I have a motion to hear item 16?
Move. Motion?
And second?
Second.
Okay, I think trustee
Aye.
Sullivan.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chair. And Mario, if you could have the appropriate person come up to answer a couple of questions. Letty's name is on it in our packet.
And then it would be Letty, sir.
Good, good. Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. So you've put a lot of time in the last few months on preparing the audit plan. I had asked that it not be presented 1 or 2 months because I didn't think we were quite ready to bring it to the board. So thank you for working with the audit committee and addressing issues and concerns that I had. What I want to be sure that we do, and I want trustees just to know, is that, and to ask the agreement of the chancellor and you as the auditor, before I do that, why don't you just, for the public and for trustees, give a 30-second difference of what you do and how you report, so that we know, so that everyone knows that you have your own wheelhouse and your wheelhouse is separate than the chancellor's.
Of course. Okay, so just to give you a rundown of our processes, basically, we do an annual risk assessment where we get input from management to determine the college's top risk. So we collect all that information and then also do some additional research as far as what's trending in higher ed in terms of risks and things of, for focus. Take all of that, use that to determine what projects make sense based on those risks identified to plan for our upcoming fiscal year. We have a process for actually performing each of those planned projects, planning, fieldwork, reporting. And then at the end of a project, we work with management to ensure that any recommendations that came out of those projects are implemented. So we have a process for closing those items.
Okay, and so our trustees know her department has been short-staffed, but the chancellor has given the green light to fill the positions. So give us just a little update on that, on what you're authorized to hire and how that process is coming, please.
Exactly. So the chancellor authorized 3 positions to be filled. One of them is actually a new position. 2 of those positions have been posted. That third one, we're still working through some budget questions in order to post that. The 2 positions have been posted for over 50 days now, and still working on getting sufficient candidate pool to work from.
Okay, and the list of suggested audit items that's in our board packet, how successful do you think you and your team will be at your current staffing level for these achievable goals? And if not, how do you prioritize what you can actually tackle with the staffing that you have?
Right. It is going to be challenging. It's going to depend on how quickly we can get staff in, but I've got some other contingency plans that I'm thinking of to help address that, potentially looking at co-sourcing, reaching out to contracted audit firms to hopefully get some resources through there. So there's contingencies in place. As far as priorities, based on recommendations from the board, we also went in and set up timelines, tentative start and end dates. So those top projects would be the priority ones. So those were the ones that, we would ensure that we complete. But I think overall, with that contingency plan, hopefully getting to 70-75% completion. And again, it just depends too, because on top of projects, we also are responsible for any fraud incidents, investigations that may come in. So that, of course, will also play into that completion rate.
Okay, sounds good. And trustees, I just wanted y'all to know the staffing challenges she has and the impact it will have on her ability potentially to complete what's presented tonight. So that if in fact she's unable to get through it, we know it, we knew it in advance. She's working to staff up her department so that she can address the audit items as she deems necessary. So just wanted to give that background. And then I have a question, of course.
Right. And then just want to also point out that I do provide monthly updates. So we'll have a good idea of where we are on a month-to-month basis compared to the audit plan that will,
Okay, and
Yeah.
who are those given to?
that goes to the chancellor and the entire cabinet.
Okay, all right. Could we get that information as time goes on?
Yeah, would it be okay for finance committee to, audit and finance committee to get that information as well?
Yes.
Okay with you?
Yes, sir, they're public records.
All right, thank you.
Good, good. And then my question is, already knowing that this is going to be a challenge going forward, there may be a couple of other items that come up between now and when you get through this. And I want to make sure that the audit and finance committee has the ability to bring those to your attention and give those the highest priority.
Exactly. Yes. I mean,
So this is somewhat, I mean, it's on paper, it's written, it's a plan, but it is also fluid.
but it's
depending
fluid,
upon-
flexible, and again, we'll have that communication monthly to, report back on that. on those
Okay, good,
changes.
good. Thank you. And I just want to share that with everyone because it's a little
Yeah, this
below
is
the radar.
kind of out of an aside, but what about training from within? In other words, maybe anyone aspiring auditors want to step up and become an auditor and you can train those. I've done that in the past in the commercial world. I mean, is there any possibility, have you looked at that option?
Yeah, I've actually thought about it. We would have to address potential, space, because one thought would be to kind of mirror what Chancellor Castillo did in his role in OGC as far as bringing in interns to help train some folks.
Okay.
Mhm.
Any other questions, comments? on This item?
I just want to say this is excellent work and I appreciate you, trustee Sullivan to, bringing her up here because that's very informative and very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, always available. If anybody has questions,
Thank you. Good job.
thank you.
So I'm going to ask for all those in favor of passing this item, indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Then the item passes. Thank you. Financial report, Smart.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for this evening. I have our financial report. This is officially the first monthly financial report for fiscal year 2024. So this is for financial statements for the month ending September 30th, 2023. This is on revenues. Here you can see it clearly appears to be down 14.5% so far this year, which is 66 million. Compared to prior years, we've been more around 16 or 17% of revenues collected by the end of the first month. When I get to a subsequent slide, I'll be able to tell you why that has occurred. First, on the expenditure side, here we're at 35 million in actual expenditures as of September 30th, which is 7.8% of the budget. And this one seems more in line with trends from prior years. So coming back to the revenues, the reason in month one we see the difference from prior year trends is in the state appropriations. You see so far to date, well, as of September 30th, we had 0 receipts in for state appropriations. That was expected because under the new HB 8, the payment schedule has changed. Previously, the payment schedule was referred to as a 10 pay. So the entire amount from the state appropriation, we would receive in 10 equal monthly installments from September through June of each year. So out of 90 million, right? In prior years, we would have received 1/10 of that by the end of September. Beginning this year with new HB 8, the schedule, they are now calling it a 3-pay. So there's 3 payments. The first one is a 50% of our state appropriation, but comes in October 15th. And then another 25% on February 15th, and then the final 25% on June 15th. So as of September 30th, we had not received anything from the state, but we did on October 15th, received in 50% of our state appropriations. This is going to be interesting that this month we're going to see it low compared to prior year trends for September. But the next month we're going to see it high, because typically by the end of October, we would have only received 20% of state appropriations in prior years, and now we would have received 50. And that amount did already come in, and that will be reflected in next month's financial statements. Beyond that, usually month 1 of the fiscal year, I don't have much to report. So that's the exciting news for this fiscal year. And that concludes my financial report. Thank you. Any questions?
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
The Board of Trustees, in accordance with section 551.001 and subsequent sessions 071, 072, 074, and 076, will now adjourn into a closed session. We will come out of closed session. There's only one agenda item, and that's going to be to consider future agenda items. So this pretty much concludes our business. We now adjourn to closed session.
Chair Stoma, we are now recording.
It's 7:01 PM. I'm reconvening our regular meeting session. Are there any future agenda items? None. Any other business for this meeting? Oh, with that, then at 7:01 and a half, I adjourn this meeting. Thank you. So.